Hi, today I'm going to show you how we glaze the work at Kite Studios. So I'm here in the Kite Studios pottery and I have some of my pots which just recently came out of the bisque firing. So the bisque firing is the first firing. This is my first pot and can you hear it? It's bisqued, so it's turned from clay into ceramics and it's ready to be glazed. And a second pot, my pot with feet, okay, and my minion. So I'll be glazing these guys today and I'll show you how it's done. So let me move the camera down so you can see. Here we go. So I have here some glaze. Now, why is it green? Well, it's green because there's food colouring in it. So it looks rather like pea soup or some kind of health food drink really, but it's not. So we put the food colouring in it so that we can see where the glaze is and where it isn't on the pot, because the clay is white. So if you haven't, like we decorated these, you know, and put colours on them, but a lot of the time the clay just is white and the glaze itself is white naturally, and then it melts into a clear glass. And if we put white glaze on a white pot, then we can't really see if we've missed any bits. Whereas if we make the glaze green with some food colouring in it, and the green just goes away in the firing and this turns into a clear glass, but it helps us to know that we've glazed the piece correctly. This is my glazed stirring stick, so I'm just giving it a good stir before I start and making sure that all the glaze is properly mixed through and there's none left at the bottom. Okay, this is very important so that it works properly. So I've stirred that and now I'm going to use my glaze tongs. So this is something that's used to hold the pots like so, can you see? Okay. And now I'm going to dip it in, and it's just a very quick dip in and out, and then you tap on the side of the bucket just so that all the glaze runs off. And it's running off and you can see how it's drying. Can you see it going from kind of shiny to matte? Okay, so now I'm going to look to see if there's any drips. There's no drips, it's good. Oh, now I can see a little drip rim, or you can't see it because it's upside down. There's a tiny little drip I'm going to remove, and now you can see that all the water that was in the glaze has been drawn into the clay. Okay, so that I'm going to pop down here and very gently remove the tongs. I'm going to give the tongs a little bit of a wash in some water and dry them. Oh, don't go in the water. Oh dear, dear, oh dear, that's me trying to do everything so that the camera can see it, and now my towel's got a bit wet, but that's all right. Okay, now I'm going to get the second pot, my pot with feet, and I'm going to dip this. So we go very quickly in and out, tapping on the side like so, and waiting for the water in the glaze to be drawn into the pores of the clay. So it's drying before my eyes. Check for drips. There's a little drip on the rim. I'm just going to remove that. It goes on my finger, see? There we go. And now that the pot is dry, I can turn it the correct way up, down. Okay, now this time I don't want to put my towel into the water, so I'm just going to dry them like this. And now I'm going to get my minion. Here we go. Grab him with tongs. Oh, I'm just going to check before I do that, make sure that my glaze is well mixed. You need to mix it every now and again to make sure it doesn't settle out. Glaze is actually made of rocks, So the rocks have been crushed into a very, very fine powder and then put in water. And when they're heated in the kiln to a very high temperature, they melt together and become glass. So you have to keep stirring because the rocks have a tendency to go to the bottom because they're heavier than water. So I'm just going to pop this away, and here's my minion, and in and out, tap like so, waiting for the glaze to go into the pores of the clay. Okay, see it's drying, it's drying. It's important not to turn it up too soon so you don't get drips coming the other way. Okay, here we are, and now I'm going to see if there's any drips on the rim. Here's one. So I'm going to just get that gently on my finger, and voila, minion glazed. And take the tongs off and just wash them in some water. Now, if you have a look at this, the glaze has gone all over. This is a little bit of a problem for us because if you saw in the last video how the pots were sitting in the kiln, they were sitting on the shelf like this, okay? And so I'm just going to move these out of the way for now because I don't need the glaze anymore. So whatever they're standing on, and then the kiln goes to a high temperature, the rocks, so the glaze melts, and then what happens? It melts on the bottom as well, and it melts to the kiln shelf. So then you can't get it off. It gets completely stuck. So we have to be very careful to take off the glaze that's on the bottom. And to do that, we just wipe like so. There we go. So I wipe it, and I want to make sure that when it's standing on the shelf, none touches the shelf. Okay, and on this one, all I have to do is wipe it off the little ends of the feet, like so. There we are. So that should be good enough. Okay, so that's wiped off, and then with the minion, I'm going to have to wipe it off his entire bottom there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And then the next step is to put these in the kiln and to fire, and we're going to fire them to 1000 degrees. Very, very hot. That will melt the glaze, make it like a transparent glass, and I will show you how that turns out. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.